All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome to this episode where I'm going to talk about 5 things that I wish I would have known when I first began struggling with my mental health. And so, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Matt Cotty. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the founder of Restored Minds. And if you are looking for help with OCD and anxiety or you're struggling yourself, please check out the links in the notes as I have some resources for you to really get you started on your journey to recovery. And also, if you enjoy the show, please help us out by liking, subscribing, and leaving a nice review on iTunes or Spotify. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the 5 things that I wish I would have known when I first began, really struggling with my mental health or mental illness. So the first thing is just simply that recovery is possible. And when I was outlining this, I was like, what would I have wish I would have said or someone have said to me when I was first struggling? And that's the really first thing to start, right? It just kept coming up was like recovery is possible. And, one of the most challenging things about wrestling with your mental health oftentimes is that you don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. So it's really easy to feel hopeless and overwhelmed if you don't believe that you can get better. And a lot of times, a lot of things we're doing to try to help ourselves are paradoxically making us worse and really getting us more stuck. So it's easy to feel like recovery is not possible. And the first thing that I would say is that absolutely recovery is possible. And anyone who tells you that that's not true, oftentimes that just means that they don't know how to help you. And instead of admitting that, they often try to set a limit on you of what's possible for you, as opposed to not having to challenge their own belief structures. So, always look for someone who has recovered or, really achieved the solution you're looking to get and really anchor into that person, right? Is what I would say with anything that you're dealing with in life that seems overwhelming or challenging. Find someone who has achieved the solution you're looking to achieve and really look to model and even work with that person. Because that is just, if it's possible for one person, it's possible for you. And that's oftentimes all someone really needs to anchor into is this idea of possibility to really open them up to taking, better action and making changes in their life that are going to improve their mental health. The second thing is that a diagnosis is not your identity. Biggest mistake, or one of the big mistakes that I should say that I see people make is identifying with a diagnosis. And so people say things all the time like, I am anxious or I am depressed, and really embrace it as like an identity of who they are. And it's so far from the truth that, a diagnosis, if you ever even get one of those, and not to say that you even need one if you're struggling, is just simply an indication of this is what you're experiencing at this time. And that's it. Like, you don't need to add anything else onto it. Anything onto that is just beliefs that we bring into the situation or other people bring into the situation. And so it's just determining like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's the problem. And then once we understand that, we begin to implement solutions to correct. And so much like if you sprain your ankle or you even break a bone in your body, you might get a diagnosis that you have this broken bone, but then the healing process is what we embark on, and the best healing and recovery process. And so really understanding that diagnosing is just a snapshot of a certain time and point on your journey, and it's by no means your identity, and it by no means has to be the idea that this is the destination. So the third thing is really the idea that mental illness and mental well-being are both practices. And if you're struggling with a mental illness, it likely means that you're engaging in practices that are attributing to that. And you might be like, well, so even things like escapism behaviors from our emotions or ruminating in our mind or doing a lot of compulsive behaviors, you might think, well, these are really common practices. And I'd be like, well, yeah, and mental illness is also really common too. Okay, so if we want to change our state, we oftentimes need to change our practice. And just like our physical health is a culmination of practices that we engage in, food that we eat or overeat, or workouts that we do or don't do, and along with everything else we're putting in our body, sleep and nutrition and all of that, mental health is also a practice. And if you are experiencing a dysregulation or poor mental health, we need to look at the practices that we're engaging in. And then the fourth thing would be really understanding and owning your own responsibility for your recovery. So one of the things that I see people do very quickly is displace responsibility. So they look for the solution. And so when I say responsibility, what I'm saying is we understand that we are the cause of our recovery. This is a scary statement sometimes for people, but there's no one outside of you that's going to heal you, right? It doesn't work like that, and you should be grateful for that for some to a certain degree, because you are the person who's going to heal yourself. And when you begin to realize that you are responsible, you are the cause of your own healing, then you begin to look in the correct place. So a lot of the times what causes people or what throws people off course is that they're looking for the cause outside of themselves. Now, there are certain cases where obviously you need to learn things to do in order to help yourself, in which case getting guidance, getting mentorship, getting counsel from people are all great things. But they're all things to equip you with the skill set to embark on your own recovery journey and do the things you need to do to recover. So I'm not by any means saying go at it alone. What I'm saying is outside sources are designed to equip you with the skill sets, the knowledge, the tools, the mindsets to be successful, right? And you're the one that ultimately needs to implement them to be successful. And then finally, is just the basic idea of learning to self-regulate. And most of what we call mental illness in our society, and even a lot of the secondary problems that we have as a result of mental illness. So, such as maybe mental illness might be feeling anxious, and a secondary problem might be alcoholism because the person uses alcohol to regulate. So, things like alcoholism, domestic violence, road rage. A lot of these secondary problems that we experience are a result of the primary of not having the ability or not feeling like we're equipped with the tools to self-regulate. And when our nervous system shifts into different states, we need to be able to self-regulate. And a lot of that has to do with learning to feel and release emotion in our system. And so when we're talking about self-regulation, just realizing that that's like one of the centerpieces of your mental and emotional well-being, and learning the skills in order to do that are going to be critical for your success. And this is really of mental and emotional health. What's at the core of most mental and emotional health is the ability to self-regulate, to regulate your nervous system, and to get you to a place where you feel safe. And a lot of that is again changing your relationships with your thoughts, with your emotions, and actually learning the skills on what to do when they show up. So these are really the 5 things that I would have liked to have said to myself when I was first struggling. And my hope is that if you're struggling or you know someone who is, these are the 5 things that I wish I would have heard anyway, that to really help put me on the right journey or the right path to really get to where I wanted to go. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope it served you. And again, if you're looking for additional help and additional resources, head over to restoredminds.com or check out in the links in the notes. And with that, I will see you on the next episode. Hey there. So if you enjoyed that video, we've linked up a few more videos that we think you'd find helpful as well. And if you have found this helpful, we'd really appreciate your support by liking and subscribing. And if you're looking for help and guidance, please check out restoredminds.com, as we have several options for you to get started. See you guys soon.